you wonderful people, and welcome to English Right Now. It's me, it's your host, it's British teacher Roy. Welcome. Now, today I thought we'd have a bit more fun, and we're going to talk about slang. But instead of the usual slang, we're going to talk about 10 pieces of Victorian slang that honestly I think should be reintroduced back into the language. Now, what we're going to talk about is those Victorian slang, what they mean. Of course, those expressions, they're dead, they're no longer useful, but we're going to talk about their more modern equivalents, what we can say, and also some kind of really interesting points about each of the expressions. And it also kind of highlights that slang is a really interesting part of a language. So they can become really fashionable, and then they can die out, and some even come back. So you can see these slang terms being popular, unpopular, dead, and then popular again. Some of them come back, some of them don't. But slang tends to be more sort of temporary in comparison with something like idioms that tend to stay around for far longer. They tend to be more stable. And we have idioms, we have very old slang words, but we have idioms that go back a long way in history. But like I say, today we're looking at 10 Victorian slang terms that I think we should start using again. That's my personal opinion. And number one is bang up to the elephant. Bang up to the elephant. I love this one. Bang up to the elephant refers to something that is perfect, complete, done properly. So if we go to a restaurant, I might say, this meal is truly bang up to the elephant. Bang up to the elephant. And maybe, I don't know, you're wearing a lovely suit, and I could say, your suit is bang up to the elephant. Now, as I've already said, nobody says this these days, but how fantastic is that piece of language? Now, bang up to the elephant, as I've said, it means perfect, wonderful, complete, done properly. And perhaps a more modern equivalent would be top-notch or on point, or even more sort of a more common slang word that's very modern would be lit. So I could say, that food is lit, or that food is top-notch, or that food is on point. Now, I find this one interesting. So bang up would be mean first rate. And we don't really use this in English currently, in British English, although there is something to say. It means first rate, a first rate. And the idea of to the elephant would be acting as a kind of intensifier, because elephants are big, beautiful, wonderful creatures. So it's kind of got this first rate to the maximum size. Now, I said that bang up, we don't tend to use it in British English, but there is an adjective in American English, bang up, which means kind of very good or excellent. So you could say, she did a bang up job. In other words, she did an amazing job. So there could be an etymological link there between bang up to the elephant and a bang up job. But that's only a form of speculation. But as I said, modern equivalents of bang up to the elephant would be top notch, on point, or even sort of more modern slang, lit. So number two is Bricky. Bricky. Bricky in the Victorian era basically means brave or fearless. So you could say, what a bricky man he is. In other words, what a brave man he is. Or what a bricky girl she is. She's such a bricky girl. That was what it meant a couple of 100 years ago. Now, as I said, this one also gone, much like everyone on this list. But these days, a modern equivalent would say somebody has guts. If they have guts, they're very brave. So you could say, wow, he's got real guts. He's very brave. Or you could say real backbone. Backbone is another way of saying they're very brave. And interestingly, I found this really interesting. We do have an expression, bricking it. And bricking it basically means the opposite of bricky. It's a slightly politer way to say that you're almost soiling yourself because you're very, very nervous. You're bricking it. You're really, really nervous. So it's completely the opposite to the old form of Victorian slang. So that was bricky. And next on my list, oh my goodness, I love this one. Chuckaboo. Chuckaboo. I wish this one still existed. If we bring this one back, it's got to be if we bring any of them back, I think Chuckaboo definitely needs to come back. And this, in the Victorian era, was a nickname given to a close friend. Hello, my little Chuckaboo. It was like a close friend. Now, so these days we'd probably say bestie, which is a form of like a slang form of best friend, or even just BFF, which stands for best friend forever. She's my BFF. She's my Chuckaboo. Love Chuckaboo. Sounds like something out of Final Fantasy. But anyway, interestingly though, when I look at this word, I see two things. So first of all, you've got that word chuck. And if you go to the north of England, it's like a term of endearment. Hello, Chuck. It's less common than it once was, but people still use it as a term of endearment, which could mean that this word kind of lives on a little bit. And also that word boo. Boo is often a sort of a pet name for your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. He's my boo. So it's really interesting that these two this one word chuckaboo kind of has a couple of maybe possible sort of links to the present. But realistically, chuckaboo would be translated these days as bestie or BFF. Number 4 is doing the bear. Doing the bear. I love this one. Doing the bear is a Victorian slang term which means showing affection by hugging somebody. And it's often a romantic hugging love. So, oh, look at those two. They've been doing the bear for hours. In other words, they've been hugging for hours. Come on, I want to hug as well. So doing the bear basically meant showing affection through hugging. And it was often quite romantic. These days, we would just say hugging or cuddling somebody, to cuddle somebody. But we do, interestingly, have a modern day word that has this word bear in it, and that is a bear hug. A bear hug is a really big, huge hug, a massive hug, like a really strong hug, a bear hug. But doing the bear, nobody uses this anymore, but I definitely like it. And number 5 is don't sell me a dog. Don't sell me a dog. It meant don't lie to me. This was popular until round about 1870, and after that it kind of disappeared from the language. But don't lie to me, don't sell me a dog. So hey, don't sell me a dog, tell me the truth. Now, apparently the etymology of this is because back in the day, when people sold dogs, they would often try to say, oh yeah, it's a purebred, it's a pedigree dog, but it was actually a mongrel or a mutt. So they would basically try and sell a mongrel off as being a pure pedigree dog. And a modern day equivalent of this would be probably telling porkies, which is a Cockney rhyming slang, porcupines, lies, or quite commonly we would say bending the truth. Stop bending the truth and tell me what really happened. And if it's a kind of minor, small lie, you could also say fib. Fib. So don't sell me a dog no longer exists, but you could say telling porkies, bending the truth, or fibbing. So number 6 is fly rink. This one also comes from the 1870s. It's gone, but I love it. And it's basically somebody with a fly rink. Oh, look at the fly rink on him. It's a polished, bald head. And I really like this one. It summons up this image. So a rink, we call an ice rink. And if they've got hair around the sides, but not on the top, it's kind of got that kind of feeling of being a space here, a polished, bald head, and flies could fly on it. I don't know if that's the actual etymology, but I really like this image that it sums up. So a polished, bald head, particularly if there was hair around the sides, was often referred to as a fly rink. Modern day slang, baldy. Obviously it's not very nice, but you could call somebody a baldy, which means a bald person, or slaphead, which means somebody who's got no hair or very shaved hair. So slaphead. So, slaphead, and it's a noun. So fly rink is a dead piece of language. It's really, really nice. But it relates to that polished, bald head. Number 7 is giggle mug. Giggle mug. This is arguably one of my favorites as well. And giggle mug, there's two kind of common definitions for this. One is a really overly smiling face. Somebody smiles habitually over and over again. And you could say, oh, what a giggle mug that person is. And for that, you'd probably say he's always grinning ear to ear in modern sort of slang grin from ear to ear. But a giggle mug was a face that is always smiling. And some people used it to describe the person, like, oh, what a giggle mug. He's such a giggle mug. So they would use it to describe the person who was always smiling, a giggle mug. Probably these days, more common slang would be cheeky chops. He's got a cheeky chops, or he's such a cheeky chops. And it's this idea of a smiling face, a little bit cheeky, a little bit naughty. But yeah, giggle mug is, I love this one. And interestingly, giggle still exists in the language. So giggle means a kind of laugh. Giggle. If you giggle, you laugh like that. And mug is slang for face. So giggle, mug, it's like a happy face, a face. So it still kind of exists, but just not as one word. So you can giggle and you can have a mug, but you don't have a giggle mug, or you're not a giggle mug anymore. But cheeky chops or grinning from ear to ear would work in modern times. Number 8 is got the morbs. Got the morbs. So got the morbs is a phrase from around 1880, and it no longer exists, like every other of the Victorian slang, but it basically means a temporary feeling of melancholy, being miserable, really sad, depressed. So melancholy, it's like this feeling of depression, this temporary feeling of depression if you've got the morbs. And probably morbs comes from the word morbid, which is this idea of like sort of death and this feeling towards death, a bit morbid, a bit depressing. And so if I could say, oh, be careful, she's got the morbs, don't talk to her today, that would be what the Victorians may have said. But these days, I'd say feeling down, or more importantly, down in the dumps. Oh, she's down in the dumps. She's really depressing today. Down in the dumps. Number 9, half rats. Half rats. He's half rats. She's half rats. Half rats means partially intoxicated. A little bit drunk. Not completely drunk, but a little bit drunk. Partially intoxicated. So if somebody's like had a few drinks, a little bit drunk, I don't want to use the words I'm going to use. You could say in the Victorian era, she is half rats, or he is half rats. And interestingly, these days, if somebody's completely drunk, it's slightly rude, you could say they are rat-arsed. Oh, he is absolutely rat-arsed. It means completely drunk. So that word rat still exists with the feeling of being drunk. And another expression, if you are slightly intoxicated, you could say half cut. So half cut or tipsy has the same meaning of half rats. And rat-arsed is completely drunk. So I just wanted to give a couple of modern day equivalents and also how the words may still exist. And finally, it's barking at a knot. Barking at a knot. Basically, this means trying the impossible. He's barking at a knot if he thinks he can complete the work on time. And it basically has this idea of being difficult and impossible to achieve. And when I think of this one no longer exists, but it reminds me of barking up the wrong tree, which basically means following the wrong line of thinking to achieve something. And maybe there is a link there, but barking at a knot no longer exists. And sometimes we just say, pigs might fly, or when pigs fly, if we think it's an impossible outcome these days. So there you have it, 10 Victorian pieces of slang. It was a bit of a fun video, 10 Victorian pieces of slang, their modern day equivalents, and how some of them may still be slightly present in our language. Let me know your favourite. Was it Giggle Mug? Was it Chuckaboo? Which was your favourite? Those are my favourites, as you can probably tell. Let me know in the comments which were your favourites, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye!